And as difficult as losing my mom and my brother and my sister were, a couple months after my sister died, the biggest storm of all hit, and I had a car accident. And my passenger, my dear friend, didn't survive.
Mm.
It was in all over the press. And I pled guilty to vehicular manslaughter and was sentenced to time in the Hamilton County Justice Center, probation, driver's license suspension, and all that good stuff. And that's the type of stuff that happens to somebody else, right? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
you sit back and you in disbelief, and you're like, how did I end up here? And after I got out of jail, frankly, Katie, my own alcoholism turned from high functioning alcoholism, as they call it, into a rage that almost consumed me.
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become the best possible versions of themselves and to strive for overall health, mental health, emotional health, physical health, all of the healths, without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who've been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time somebody shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. So, welcome to the show. For the listeners, I was just telling him how much I appreciate him. We don't have to go into details, but I appreciate you. Um, and I was wondering if you can tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and why you are who you are.
Well, first of all, Katie, it's nice to be appreciated. Thank you. And yeah, I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here with you today and tell you about a little bit about who I am and why I'm that way. Yeah, that's a dark and dangerous place to go. So I, uh,
I
I,
hear
I
you.
I'm currently on my second act in life. I'm doing public speaking and that type of thing, and I call it struggles and summits. And we all have struggles and summits in life, right?
Yeah.
And ups and downs, and I'm no different. I've had my normal ups and downs, but I've also had some pretty extreme ups and downs in my life. And I talk about the struggles and I talk about the summits as well because both of them are important to us in our lives. But yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I have a company of about 25 employees. I married my high school sweetheart. We met April the 6th, 1983. Spaghetti was on the cafeteria menu that day. And we've been together ever since, and she stuck with me through a lot. Oh my goodness.
Mm.
Um, but um, but yeah, we've got a beautiful family, three beautiful daughters. They're all married. I have blessed to have seven grandchildren. I'm living the grandfather life. I'm loving that. But you know, service has always been important to us. Serving others. The purpose of our company is to serve people. Whether that's our employees, our vendors, or our customers, as well as, of course, the community and each
Mhm.
other. And so service has always been, and a lot of the reason that service is important is because of my experiences, my personal experiences. But yeah, I've been blessed to have a company that's been fairly successful. We've been in business about 20 years. And yeah, one time I even took service to a whole new level when I decided that I wanted to climb Mount Rainier at the age of 50 years old, right out in Seattle, Washington. I don't know
Nice.
if you've ever seen it before, but it's an impressive mountain. And and so I decided that to make it more meaningful, that it was important that I attach it to something bigger. And so I used it as an occasion to raise $25,000 for a special needs school in Guatemala.
That's
Um,
awesome.
Yeah, and it made the greatest physical accomplishment of my life seem not as important as what I was able to do by bringing a bunch of people together to donate for this cause. Yeah, and I've taught youth groups, I've led churches. I've been very blessed in a lot of ways in my life. So that's not to take away from some of the struggles I've had.
Right.
So yeah, I grew up in the Cincinnati area in a family of five. My older brother and sister were from my mom's first marriage. And so I was the stepchild, the much younger stepchild.
Mm.
And, I was physically abused by both of them. They were both into trouble, drugs. My sister even got pregnant, had an abortion. I mean, just, basically getting into any trouble and every trouble that they could. Tim was often arrested. He was a violent individual and would often get into violent confrontations with my parents. Mom was an alcoholic. And so she was left ill equipped to handle the chaos of teens in this blended family. And frankly, she was on a self-destructive path. When I was 11 years old, mom drove her car the wrong way onto the highway and luckily didn't kill somebody, except for herself when she drove under the back end of a semi truck. My brother was also an alcoholic. 3 years after mom died, he had a beer in his hand when he drove his car under a semi truck and died at the young age of 23. I was 14 when Tim died.
Mm.
So by the age of 14, I had gone through a lot of difficulties, struggles, tragedies in my life, and so I was kind of checked out for a long time, but eventually I used those as fuel for a life of service and purpose based on my struggles. That's why I taught senior high Sunday school class. That's why I led the youth groups. And oftentimes we get our meaning and purpose in life from our struggles. There's five stages of grief. Well, there's a sixth one too, and it's finding meaning and purpose. And I think that that's a way to honor the difficulties and the struggles that we've gone through and kind of stick it in the eye to them too a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Um, Not long after I summited Mount Rainier, my sister went into the hospital for the last time. I was asked to make the decision to remove life support. Her own alcoholism had finally caught up with her. You see, both of us went through difficulties, but Krista handled it a very different way. And I often tell people, it's a choice that each of us makes. Are we going to let life's difficulties and struggles make us bitter or make us better? Unfortunately, despite my best efforts, Krista was self-destructing, I guess is the best way to put it. So she ended up dying just a few months after I summited Mount Rainier. I spent the last 3 days with her as she slowly died. And as difficult as losing my mom and my brother and my sister were, a couple months after my sister died, the biggest storm of all hit, and I had a car accident. And my passenger, my dear friend, didn't survive.
Mm.
It was in all over the press. And I pled guilty to vehicular manslaughter and was sentenced to time in the Hamilton County Justice Center, probation, driver's license suspension, and all that good stuff. Um, yeah, and that's the type of stuff that happens to somebody else, right? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
you sit back and you in disbelief and you're like, how did I end up here? And after I got out of jail, frankly, Katie, my own alcoholism turned from high functioning alcoholism, as they call it, into a rage that almost consumed me. And what I like to talk to people about, Katie, is what kept me from becoming the fourth headstone in my family. because your struggles may or may not relate to my struggles. You may or may not be able to relate to them, but we all have struggles and difficulties in life, and they can tend to beat us down. And I've got a lot of experience with stress, anxiety, depression, even PTSD, panic attacks, and suicidal thoughts. And I've been able to survive, not only survive, but thrive. Because I believe that with the right mindset that we should be able to thrive from our difficulties, not just survive from them.
Yes. I'm speechless. Um, wow. I I don't want to take away from your story, but I wanted to tell you how I'm relating to it. Um, I had a cousin who was like on and off sober, and he I think he was sober for like 5 years, and then one night he wasn't, and he got on the freeway going the wrong direction,
Uh,
and he killed himself, and his name was Tim.
oh, wow.
And so as you're telling the story, I'm going, oh, oh, relation.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, and it was so sad because he had 4 kids, and most of the time he was sober, but when he wasn't, he wasn't.
Yeah.
And so that, as you were telling the story, I'm just getting chills because, names and
Yeah.
ways of losing life. Um, and I also wanted to relate to you in that my husband and I have an entire family of alcoholics. My side of the family, they're all recovering. His side of the family, they're all practicing. And so family get-togethers are fun. Um, but I love I love that you took all of that and you like, how do I say this? You kind of like took everything that you've ever experienced, like the losses and then the holy crap, I'm in jail for something. How did I get here? And you kind of like took one foot and you stepped out of it and you're like, okay, what can I do with this to be good in the world? And so I love that.
Oh, and where
Yeah.
that comes from is at my mother's funeral when I was 11 years old, they read from Romans 8, and Romans 8:28 ended up becoming my life verse. And it says that for me, that God can make all things work for good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And I know a lot of people that choke on that verse. I even know pastors that have questioned it, but I firmly believe that it's the truth. And I'm here from the other side of that telling you that, yeah, the pain, the difficulties, the struggles, many people make those work for good. Look at the Susan G. Komen Foundation. Susan G. Komen died from breast cancer at a young age, and her sister started the foundation. Or Matt Walsh, who started America's Most Wanted and put
Mm,
criminals behind bars. A lot of people survive and turn their biggest, most painful difficulties in life into real meaningful and purposeful things in this world.
I love that. Instead of sitting in it.
Right? That's
Yeah.
that's what my sister did. And then people choose that path all the time. And it's frustrating. I'm sure you probably felt it with your brother, Tim, right? Because, as bad as you want for them, they've got to want it for themselves. And, I can sit here and beat myself up that I wasn't able to save my sister. But at the end of the day, it was her choice.
Yeah. Wow. So what are you doing now? Like, can I ask a little more like what your company's about and just
Sure.
like what are you doing in the world?
Yeah, so I'm writing a book based on my experiences. I've got a lot of stories, as you can imagine. That's just kind of the highlights right there. There's a lot of subplots. I could
Yeah.
I could talk for an hour about jail. But so yeah, I feel really called to be able to use my experiences and to help other people. And so that's kind of what I'm focused on now. I'm writing a book and doing public speaking. My company, you will find this very interesting, is a seasoning company.
Hmm.
Yeah, we make seasonings for food manufacturers. So we make like big batches of it, like 3,000 pounds at a time. We don't make little bottles for retail.
That's a lot of seasoning.
Yeah, yeah. You'll never see our name on the package, but you've probably eaten our products, you know. So we'll make like salt and vinegar for potato chips, or you
Oh,
know,
nice.
things like that. Maybe a rub for a pork loin, those types of things. That's what we do. So some people call me Mr. Spicy. I have over 43 years of experience in the seasoning industry.
That's awesome. Are you a cook?
You know, I'm not a cook. I like to play around.
Uh-huh.
No, I like to cook and I like to play around, but that's the fun thing about this, right? Everybody's a foodie these days, it seems like.
Hmm.
And you know, the cool thing about seasonings, it's right brain, it's left brain, it's formulating unique flavor concepts, but it's and coming up with them and ingredients and all that fun stuff. But it's also, you know, right brain just as much, you know, science and business and all that as well. So it keeps it stays interesting. I love this business.
I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know why it made me want a rotisserie chicken.
Ah, ah. Uh,
Oh. Um, Actually, if you don't mind, I would like to rewind a little bit. You just said that you could talk about your jail time for an hour, which we're not going to do, but um, I would, I'm really curious, um, how that changed you, because I'm guessing it changed you. I mean, something like that because you were, you know, doing things in the world and just suddenly this thing happened. How did it change you? And how long, can I ask how long you were there?
yeah, I was sentenced to 90 days. I ended up spending 68 because I got a job in commissary, so I got out a little bit early.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. No, jail, you know, we've all got, and I had it too, you know, a preconceived idea of who inmates are. And I'll talk about the who rather than the what, because jail itself is every bit of a armpit hole as you can imagine.
Yeah.
The food, the COs, everything. It's just it's not a fun experience. And but the people, you know, you've got these stereotypes in your mind, and to some extent they're true, but to a large extent, you know, it's a lot of that changes when you're face to face with inmates and you're living with them and you know, you're friends with them
Yeah.
and on a daily basis. And it helped me understand the system a lot better, how messed up the system is. But yeah, it was definitely a look at the different side of life for me because I'm a business executive from the suburbs, right? I'm in the
Mm,
downtown Cincinnati jail with, you know, the worst of the worst. I'm right next door to the murder pod.
mm.
You know, I'm in protective custody with the guys who rape people and snitch on people. So I'm not a very liked person in jail either. So it was yeah, it was a you know, and as crazy as it sounds, on sometimes I can't believe I'm saying I'm thankful for the experience. Um, and you know, one of the things that I've learned is community, whether it's inside the jail or in your church or at your work there's community there too. And some of it's good and some of it's not so good, you know, a lot of racism. But yeah, you're sitting there and you're talking to a guy who you know is a child molester, and I'm having Bible study with him. It's an odd paradigm.
Mm. Yeah, what's coming up for me is like I can imagine you being there with those other people. That's those people, and then this
Right.
is me.
Yeah.
So it must be like
I've got a good
fun.
story.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, I did not fit in jail. All right. I don't have any tattoos. I don't talk right. I don't walk right. It is clear that I am not one of the regulars here. Um, I was advised by some people who knew the system, hey, keep to yourself, be very careful, all kinds of cautionary stuff, right? And so I'm keeping to myself, but I'm clearly, I don't feel, it's clear to the 16 other inmates in my pod that, I'm scared and I'm lonely and I have no idea what I'm doing here, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't get any commissary for the first week because of when I got booked in, but I ended up coming back to my cell one day and finding on my bunk 2 bags of barbecue potato chips, a brownie, and a fruit cup anonymously. Um, and I found out another guy offered me some books to read, and another guy offered me a pen and another one a paper, some paper to write letters. Um, and I was telling Shelly about this, my wife, when I was talking to her on the phone one day, and she was thankful for that, and that these inmates had, kind of taken me under their wing, so to speak. And she wrote them letters. She looked them up on the Justice Center website. You can do this at any jail. You can look up and you can write letters to any inmate,
Oh.
and she thanked them for taking care of me and for their kindness towards me. And she told them that she was praying for them in their situation, and she hoped the best for them. One day, a guy named Preacher, right, comes up to me, and he's got this letter in his hand. And Preacher, yeah, just like his name would imply, he's the kind of guy you saw him on the street, you'd probably cross over to the other side. He's a bad dude. He's been in jail most of his life, right? And he comes
Mhm.
up to me, he's got this letter in his hand. He says, he's got tears I can see welled up in his eyes. He says, tell your wife thank you. I've been here for 7 months and I haven't gotten one piece of mail. I really appreciate it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, community is so important to all of us. To the guy in jail, to the kid in high school. It's so important to our mental health and well-being. It's something I talk about a lot. It's a bigger predictor of our health and well-being than alcohol use or smoking.
Mhm.
Uh, and making connections is one of the things that I encourage people to make sure that they spend time nourishing in their life because it is so important to our mental health and well-being.
Yeah. I love that. And that's right up my alley of what I do is like our health is so much more than what we're putting in our mouth and how we're moving our body and keeping track of all the calories and all the macros and all the, what the scale says today and how, letting that determine your day versus what's going on up here, you know? And so, like, my whole thing is train from the inside out. You got to take care of what's inside of you before you can even think about taking care of the outside of you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the basis of AA, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I knew nothing about AA 4 years ago before I got sober. I had my, prejudices or ideas about all these wacky people that go to those silly meetings and smoke cigarettes, and coffee, but I that's the basis of sobriety for AA, and AA's helped a lot of people. No matter what you say about it, it's helped a lot of people get sober, and it helped me get sober. And it's more about what's on the inside of you than it is anything else.
Yeah.
Because that and I realize that. Obviously, with my story and my life, I've got a lot on the inside that I need to deal with before I can live a as healthy and a productive life as I can.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. And yes, I'm familiar with AA. I'm actually the only normie in my family.
Oh,
So
are you?
I'm
Oh,
the one that I get made fun of because I don't drink.
yeah.
But
You don't
Yeah,
drink and
so
you're not an alcoholic, man.
um yeah,
Uh,
my mom used to like make fun of me because there's like half a beer and that's all I drank. That's all I wanted.
yeah, yeah.
What is
Alcoholics,
why didn't you
alcohol.
finish it?
We
Did you
can't
finish the
understand.
six pack? No.
Well, you alcoholics can't understand people like that. That's
Yeah,
bizarre
I
behavior.
know.
Why wouldn't you finish it?
Yeah. So I guess I'd be the weirdie in my family.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I'm super familiar because like I said, my side, they're all recovering and they're all in AA. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's
I'm
awesome.
familiar with it.
It's
Yeah.
been a great program for me.
Hmm.
And I tell you, I have seen a lot of people that have been brought back together inside because of that program. And yeah, I am thankful for it because it got me sober,
I
and
love it.
my chances weren't very good.
I guess my question for you would be like when was the moment that it clicked that you needed to stop drinking? Because you said um the your alcoholism revved up after you got out of jail, right?
Yeah,
So was there like something that happened or a moment or like a mental shift that happened to where you were like, this needs to stop?
yeah, yeah. Well, and my bottom, Katie, was not as far down as I go to these rooms and listen to the stories in AA. And ooh, I tell you what, people hit some really low rock bottoms. And as far as alcohol goes, mine wasn't as low. And I think probably in large part of that is because I had three headstones staring me in the face that I said I will
Mm,
never end up like that.
yeah.
But it's the power of alcoholism. See, here I am. No, I started having blackouts. And one day my wife finally called the ambulance to come pick me up and take me to the hospital. And that was it. That's all it took. I said, oh my gosh, here I am, just like the rest of my family. I said I
Mm,
wouldn't be here.
yeah.
And so that was it. I never drank again after that. And Yeah, I'm thankful for it because before that I couldn't imagine a life without alcohol, and now I am very happily living a life without it, and I can't imagine a life with it.
Yeah. My husband doesn't drink and never has because of his family.
It's a good
And I
idea.
think, yeah, and well, partially because of his family and also friends, like what he says all the time is, I don't like who people turn into when they drink, even if they're like happy drunks. I don't like who they turn into. And he's like, so I don't want to turn into somebody I don't like.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
huge. Yeah. Well, I have one more question for you.
sure.
Um, if you could give one piece of advice to the world, what would it be?
Oh man, am I only allowed one?
You can give multiple if you want.
Okay, let me give two at least.
Okay.
Do the hard things in life. It prepares you for the hard things in life that choose you. And there's never a broken too broken unless you decide to give up. That would be my message to any of you out there who feel like there's just no way back. I'm here to tell you that there is, and unless you give up, you'll get there.
Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Higgins signing off. Until next time.